beware of the Baroque effect, the seduction power of aesthetic technology. That would be a more, maybe, I don't know whether Marxist or what kind of position, but Frankfurter Schule has gone into that. And then we come up, I take that up a little bit later on, to Benjamin, the aestheticizing politics. That's one of the things we can bring in. Or then with people like Curtius, Hauser, Wellek, they have been working on it, saying there is a danger of a terminological inflation. We better stay off that concept. Curtius says, let's do away with it. Hauser says, let's take mannerism, not Baroque, and he runs into the same problems with the other concept. Wellek says, we have to, it's a very complex, we have to kind of make it workable. So in literary studies. So there are all kinds of positions there, but more positively then, you have the Scarpetta, the position by Scarpetta, which is an interesting one. You have Calabrese's position. His interest in morphogenesis, in a culture that transforms itself, that is able to go beyond its own limits, and this cultural generativity in this paradigm. That's what Calabrese is interested in. Then in Deleuze, you have really the use of this concept opératoire as a deconstructive tool, not exclusively, because there's a lot of history about Leibniz in that book. But for instance, the pli, the fall, deconstructs the opposition of inside and outside. That's a very important job. Or deconstructs the opposition of structure and ornament, also. So those are important issues. Or in Haroldo de Campos, that Brazilian, a poet and a theoretician, he also makes out of the Baroque a deconstructive paradigm, but then he affirms a general carnivalization and anthropophagization of culture. There brings a Brazilian element into it, a ludic productivity of culture. Culture can just, and he doesn't make many differences, but lots of difference between carnivalization, anthropophagism, and ludic productivity. So it's not that precise. Or there is an interesting piece by Guérin in a collective volume in 83. I can also circulate some bibliography, and he talks about what I often mentioned, the l'inversion idéologique of the Baroque. It goes more or less like this, but this is a very, very short resume of it. In the 17th century, we observe the emergence of a progressive modern culture marked by rationality. Emancipation takes over the Baroque. Baroque is seen as the pre-modern culture, as pre-modern, aristocratic, and irrational culture. So in the 17th century, the Baroque was on the negative side, and rational culture, bourgeois culture, emerging bourgeois culture was the positive thing. Now today, in the 20th century, he says, modern rationalism has turned itself into an iron cage. This is the Weberian concept. Bureaucracy, subjectivation to modern ideologies, and we are kind of imprisoned in this rational iron cage. And now the Baroque comes back as the affirmation of the repressed of modernity, as an emancipatory element. So he calls this an ideological inversion. And personally, I would be more prudent. I would say the observation of the history of the Baroque, both as an artistic and cultural practice and as a site of reflection on culture, whatever the specifics of this rejection resurgence, this back and forth, this unstable axiology, this what we observe attests to the Baroque an exceptional historical efficiency. This concept is still there, is again there, and is still alive, and still brings important elements into debate on culture. So it is historically efficient, and it has an extraordinary potential of reactivation. I've done the same kind of job on the literary genre of the Bildungsroman. Everybody has criticized Bildungsroman, but Bildungsroman is still around. It is still a productive concept that is being used, especially in cinema. Motorcycle Diaries by Walter Salis is absolutely a Bildungsroman. As a movie, as a Bildungsroman as a movie, or a movie as a Bildungsroman. Okay. Now I would like, I don't know, I don't think I have more time, no? Is anybody
time? I think it was 9:30 when you started, something like that, doesn't matter.
Well, I'd like to go
You're the
into
boss
one
anyway.
maybe a little bit faster. Those are the two sections I take out of the other text. So you can read it later on, so it's not that important. But I'd like to narrow down now the focus and go into aesthetics specifically. Because Baroque is not just aesthetics. Baroque can be much more. It's politics, it's sciences, all kinds of things. But now let's narrow down it to aesthetics and look at aesthetics and its political use. 2 moments. Now, I have some kind of a hidden anachronical hypothesis saying that in the 17th century there was an aesthetic paradigm set up by many authors, and today in the 20th century, in the context of our technological and new mediascape, only today we are able to fully realize the Baroque paradigm, something like that. I don't know where it goes up, but I like that. I like that. Okay. So I have to run through this a little bit. I look at the Baroque aesthetically as mainly an aesthetics of effect, eine Wirkungsästhetik. It's an aesthetic set up to produce an effect on somebody. That is, it works with a very intense, what I call aesthetic interpellation of the senses. And that's the main aspect of it. And it is normal. Argan, the Italian scholar Argan, says it's mainly a rhetoric of persuasion. You have to persuade somebody. And this pragmatic intent of the aesthetics is not just an additional aspect to an aesthetic, it's the raison d'être of Baroque aesthetic. So that would be one of the centers.